Always dreamed of becoming a dancer, but my parents forced me into medicine. Years later, I snuck away to a dance audition, only to find my family waiting there. I'm still trying to process everything that happened, and I really need some outside perspective. This is going to be a long post, so I apologize in advance. I've been married to my husband, let's call him Tom, 36M, for 8 years. We've had our ups and downs, but overall, I thought we had a strong relationship. Tom has a sister, Sarah, 32F, who's been married to Mike, 35M, for 5 years. Mike is honestly one of the kindest, most genuine people I've ever met. He's always been there for our family, and he treats Sarah like a queen. About 6 months ago, I started noticing some strange behavior from Sarah. She'd become very protective of her phone, always keeping it face down or in her pocket. She'd leave the room to take calls, and she seemed distracted during family gatherings. At first, I didn't think much of it. We all have our moments, right? Things took a turn when I borrowed Sarah's laptop to check my email during a family barbecue at their house. When I opened the browser, I saw her Facebook was still logged in. I know I shouldn't have looked, but something caught my eye. There was an open chat with a man I didn't recognize, and the messages were intimate, to say the least. I quickly closed the browser, feeling sick to my stomach. I spent the next few days agonizing over what I'd seen. Should I confront Sarah? Tell Mike? Keep it to myself? I decided to talk to Sarah privately. When I confronted her, she broke down crying. She admitted she'd been having an emotional affair with a coworker for the past few months. She swore it hadn't gotten physical, but she was struggling with her feelings. Sarah begged me not to tell Mike or Tom. She said she was confused and needed time to figure things out. She promised she'd end things with the other man and work on her marriage. Against my better judgment, I agreed to keep her secret. I thought maybe it was just a phase, a moment of weakness that she'd overcome. Weeks passed, and I watched Sarah and Mike's interactions closely. To my relief, Sarah seemed more attentive to Mike, and I hoped the whole thing was behind us. But then, about 2 months after our talk, I overheard Sarah on the phone in our backyard during a family dinner. She was whispering, but I could clearly hear her making plans to meet someone at a hotel. My heart sank. I couldn't ignore it anymore. The guilt was eating me alive. Every time I saw Mike so loving and trusting, I felt like I was betraying him, too. After another sleepless night, I made the decision to tell Mike everything. I asked Mike to meet me for coffee, saying I needed his advice on something. When we sat down, I could barely look him in the eye. I started by apologizing for what I was about to tell him, and then I laid it all out. The Facebook messages, the phone call, everything. Mike sat there in stunned silence, his face a mix of shock, pain, and disbelief. When Mike finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. He thanked me for telling him and left quickly. I sat there for a long time, wondering if I'd done the right thing. The fallout was immediate and intense. Mike confronted Sarah that same day, and she admitted to the affair. It turned out it had indeed become physical. Their house turned into a war zone, with Sarah moving out to stay with a friend within days. I thought that would be the end of it, at least for me. But I was wrong. Tom came home one night, absolutely livid. Sarah had called him hysterical, saying I'd ruined her marriage. Tom was furious that I'd interfered in his sister's relationship. He accused me of betraying family loyalty and sticking my nose where it didn't belong. I tried to explain my position. I told Tom how I'd initially kept Sarah's secret, hoping she'd sort things out. I explained the guilt I felt, knowing Mike was being deceived. I argued that Sarah was the one who ruined her marriage by cheating, not me for exposing the truth. But Tom wouldn't hear it. He kept saying I should have minded my own business, that families should stick together no matter what. Our argument escalated, with both of us saying hurtful things. Tom accused me of always thinking I knew best, of being a busybody who couldn't resist drama. I shot back that his blind loyalty to his sister was misplaced, and that he was overlooking her betrayal of a good man. The fight ended with Tom storming out. He didn't come home that night or the next. When he finally returned, he was cold and distant. He said he needed time to think about our relationship. I was shocked. How had my marriage become collateral damage in this mess? Over the next few weeks, Tom and I tried to talk things through, but we kept hitting the wall. He couldn't get past what he saw as my betrayal of his sister, while I couldn't understand how he could defend Sarah's actions. The tension in our house was unbearable. Finally, after a particularly heated argument, Tom dropped a bombshell. He said he wanted a separation. He felt he couldn't trust me anymore, that I'd shown my true colors by turning on family. I was devastated. How had trying to do the right thing cost me so much? As I write this, Tom is staying with a friend. We're technically separated, though neither of us has mentioned divorce yet. Sarah and Mike are in the middle of divorce proceedings. Mike has thanked me multiple times for telling him the truth, saying he'd rather know than live a lie. But that small comfort doesn't ease the pain of watching my own marriage crumble. I've replayed the events in my head 1,000 times. Should I have kept quiet? Was Tom right? That I should have minded my own business? But every time I think about Mike, blissfully unaware while his wife betrayed him, I feel like I made the right choice. Yet the cost has been so high. My friends are divided. Some say I did the right thing, that exposing infidelity is always the moral choice. Others say I should have stayed out of it, that it wasn't my secret to tell. I'm torn between standing by my principles and wishing I could turn back time and keep my mouth shut. So I turn to you. Am I wrong for telling Mike about Sarah's infidelity, even though it's led to the potential end of my own marriage? Was I wrong to prioritize honesty over family loyalty? Should I have given Sarah more time to come clean on her own? I'm lost and could really use some outside perspective. Edit 1. Wow. I didn't expect this post to blow up like this. Thank you all for your comments and insights. I want to clarify a few things based on the questions I'm seeing. 1. Yes, I did try to talk to Tom about the situation before telling Mike. Tom was away on a business trip when I first discovered Sarah's affair, and I wanted to discuss it with him in person. By the time he got back, Sarah had convinced me to keep quiet, so I didn't bring it up. In hindsight, I should have told Tom immediately. 2. Some people are asking about Mike and Sarah's kids. They don't have any children, which is one small mercy. In this situation, I can't imagine how much more complicated this would be if there were kids involved. 3. A lot of you are suggesting marriage counseling for Tom and me. I brought it up, but Tom is resistant to the idea right now. He says he needs space to process everything. I'm hoping he'll come around to the idea of counseling once some time has passed. 4. To those asking about Sarah and the other man, as far as I know, they're not together. Sarah claims she ended things with him when Mike found out, but I don't know if that's true. I'm trying to keep my distance from the whole situation now. 5. Some have asked about my relationship with Mike now. We're friendly when we see each other at family events, but we're not close. I think he appreciates what I did, but it's also a painful reminder for him. We're keeping things polite but distant. 6. To address the comments about family loyalty. I understand where Tom is coming from, I really do. He and Sarah have always been close. But I can't agree that family loyalty should extend to covering up infidelity. I believe loyalty should be to what's right, not to protecting someone who's causing harm. 7. For those suggesting I had ulterior motives or enjoyed the drama, I can assure you that's not the case. This has been one of the most stressful and painful experiences of my life. I never wanted any of this to happen. I was just trying to do what I thought was right in an impossible situation. I'm reading all your comments and trying to respond where I can. Thank you all for your input, even if I don't agree with all of it. This has given me a lot to think about. Edit 2. I've been thinking a lot about a comment someone made about how I handled the initial discovery. You're right, I shouldn't have snooped in Sarah's Facebook messages. Even though it was accidental at first, I should have logged out immediately. That was a violation of her privacy, and I regret it. I still think telling Mike was the right thing to do ultimately, but I should have handled that initial discovery differently. Edit 3. To those asking for an update, there isn't much to report yet. Tom and I are still separated. We've had a few conversations, mostly about practical matters. He's still very hurt and angry. I'm giving him space, but I've made it clear I'm open to working on our marriage if he's willing. As for Sarah and Mike, their divorce is proceeding. I'm trying to stay out of it as much as possible. I'll post an update if anything significant changes. Thank you all for your support and advice during this difficult time. Update. It's been a while since my original post, and a lot has happened. I wanted to give you all an update on how things have turned out. Buckle up because this story took some unexpected turns. After my last update, things with Tom continued to deteriorate. Despite my hopes that he might come around to the idea of counseling, he became more and more